o'clock.
It's officially 12 o'clock. There we go. And we are officially live on my Facebook feed. So we are live there as well.
Oh, awesome. Brilliant.
Yes. Alrighty, guys. It's 12 o'clock. We're going to start. If anyone joins us, please feel free to add any questions. I know the chat manager is going to type in some questions. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. My name is Britz, and my business is called Business by Design. We specifically help people advance in performance, guys, and that self-performance, whether it's in your day-to-day lives, in your business, and how to do what you do better on a daily basis. And today, one of the things I've asked Bjorn to be able to chat to us about is one of those things that we need in business today is to be able to get our marketing right. If we don't get this right, very often we feel like we kind of have pages, we kind of have businesses online that really don't serve us. I know that I've been in that position where I've really wanted to engage with people online and make a certain impression. And very often it sort of fails me. So Björn's here to give us really good advice and tell us what to do and what not to do. Please tell us who you are and more about you.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Bjorn. I'm not Bjorn. I often get that. Very easy. I've got the umlaut, so that's it. I've been in marketing for 10 years this year. I've had different businesses and in different cities. I've worked locally and abroad. And one of the things that I realized as the years have gone on is that I just thought marketing was the thing that everyone knew. It was like easy and everyone got it. And what I quickly realized is that marketing is actually, it's easy if you know what you're doing. And when you don't, it's exceptionally difficult. And the reason why I say difficult is because you get frustrated. You feel like, what's the point? Like, honestly, like, why bother? And so, yeah, that's me. And I own a company called TNC Marketing and PR. And yeah, the rest you'll find out as we go along. Cool stuff.
Again, thank you for the intro. Last week we covered, do you want to just give us a bit of a summary of last week, just so we leave from where we started?
Absolutely. So we started a series this month, and we're running it for May, and we'll continue to be running it. And as time will go on, we'll be creating podcasts and having some other businesses on this online event, just to help you. That's really our aim. And so what we started with last week was how to brand you using social media marketing. And today we're really following on from that, and we're focusing how to brand your business. And that's the thing. You know, I was looking at stats, and you know, my heart really bleeds. Taryn, who's our chat manager, knows is that I really battle when people battle. It's really a thing for me. And so I really just want to help. I've been homeless and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I don't come from a very privileged background. I've had to work really hard to get to where I am. And therefore I just want to help. Like, I just kind of go, like, your past doesn't determine your future. And today doesn't determine tomorrow. But what you do today is going to impact a couple of days' time. And so that's just really where we're coming from. And we just want to help businesses. And so that's what we're going to do. Great stuff. Thanks, Kev.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Björn. So today, tips on building your brand using social media. I think a lot of people still, well, I've come across just in the last month, a lot of people use social media just as this kind of, I don't even know how to articulate this. It's like a very casual approach. They have a way of being casual about it. They don't really think about what they're saying online. They don't really understand what they're sharing online. And then eventually you start building this beautiful impression about this person, and you're going, dude, do you actually have a business? And like, is this associated to your business somehow? So, you know, tell us first off, to kick off today's conversation, why do we need, how do we actually build a brand using social media? And why not just a website?
Great question. So I think the first thing that I'd say to people is this. Right now, we have no choice because of lockdown to be online. So if anything, that is your only option, like literally. I mean, you can't get flyers printed and all those other stuff. You can't do billboards because you can't, you're limited. So step number one. Step number two, now more than ever, people are online like crazy. I was looking at some online platforms for some of our clients, and I just saw the amount of new platforms that are coming on board that people can do online events. And one of the things that I've looked at is how online events, and I'll use Cricket as a platform, like they've quadrupled. I think kind of from a lockdown point of view, I was in lockdown 2 weeks ahead. So one of the things that I started seeing is just initially people were scared, but now they're embracing it. So this is the thing. If you want to be taken seriously, you've got to be playing with the players that are playing in the field. So step number one is you've got to get online. So that's goal number one. I always say to people, you might be scared, you might be worried, you might have fear, you might have read stuff that like people post bad things about social media. And I say this, you have to manage that space as with anything. And if you want to keep building a business, if you're not using the online platform and not embracing it, you are going to be left behind. So if you're taking it from that space, that's kind of step number one.
Yeah. Essentially, I just want to comment with Dylan here. Dylan says they Blue Wave Software, they just managed, I manage the digital marketing. And I want to improve my social media marketing. So thanks for this. Thanks, Dylan. If you have any questions, please add the questions to the box, guys. We will be going through any questions that you have in terms of marketing and in aim of adding as much value as we can. So tell us more about social media platforms. I mean, there are so many and there are so many to use. What should we be using? What should be avoiding? Like, what are the ones that are great right now? What is working?
Cool, fantastic. So great question. Step number one, I just want to say for those that are coming on board, please make sure if you have a question, put it in the Q&A section. If you have a business or you are in some form of wanting to have a business, whether it's a side hustle or a main hustle, it makes no difference. You're still hustling, so thumbs up. Put that in the chat section. It just gives us a bit of context. So thanks, Dylan, for that. So if you're looking at social media platforms, I'm going to say this. You're saying, your question was, for those of you that are joining, there's so many. What do you choose from? How do you choose? Where to choose? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I say this. Go with the first thing of where is everybody right now? So it's got to do with the following. What is the type of business you have and what's your target audience? Let me explain. If you're the kind of person who is a young poet, up and coming, and that's what you want to develop, then you're going to be needing a potential kind of platform like a TikTok. One of the biggest comments right now is TikTok for business, is it for personal? And I've been saying to people, because we get literally weekly inquiries about that, I say, if you're going to be using TikTok from a business point of view, it's really important that you're coming from it's you. People buy you, they're not buying a brand. You become a brand, and that's great. But make sure that if you're an author, if you're a singer, an artist, a creative in that context, that you then use TikTok to engage. That's important. If we want to go for someone that is, and I'll take the other context. So say you're an NGO, say you are an engineer, say you are a restaurant selling a product. So you're able to do retail because you can do that in level 4. And hopefully at the end of the month, we go to level 3. But if you are in that space, I want to say to you, first and foremost, you've got to understand your message. So it's the same thing I spoke about last week. Before you even jump to platforms, if you don't know your message, number one, why is anyone going to bother to listen to you? And I say this to people, think of it like this. If I said to you today, hi guys, my name is Dr. Bjorn and I'm a GP. Next week, Thursday, I log in and I go, hi guys, I am a dentist. You can kind of go, oh, okay. You went from a GP to a dentist in a week. That's interesting. But if I then the following week said to you, hi guys, I'm a civil engineer. You're going to literally go, dude, like, are you well? Like, how did you change your degree? How did you just kind of move? So the first thing is, before you even choose your platform, choose your voice. If you're going to be marketing yourself as a X person, make sure that that is what you focus around and all things around that. Otherwise, you're not consistent. Number 2, find out all the different platforms, and I'll go through them now. What works for you that you are most comfortable with? I know some people that only use Twitter. And the reason they only use Twitter is because Twitter is the only platform that gets free radio advertising. Let me explain. If you have a look at the trends on Twitter, one of the things it will say is top trends today on Twitter are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And what has happened is, if you have a look during COVID-19, the Twitter's actually opened in terms of all the number of trends. Before, often you only used to do top 10, now it's doing top 20, and sometimes it even does up to top 30, believe it or not. So make sure that you take that platform and you maximize it. If Facebook is your platform, then make sure that when I look, or anyone else looks at you about what your brand is and what business you are building, that is what you talk about. Don't talk about politics today and then you talk about tomorrow that you hate vegans. Then the next day you talk about how you hate religion, and then you're telling people about how you love everyone and you do yoga and you're a meditation instructor. And then the next one you're talking about your financial advisor. What's your voice? Like, why should people listen to you? I always say the most important part is know your voice and then understand your platform. Other platforms you can look at is this. If you're looking at generating referrals, and I think a lot of people confuse leads, number one, between referrals. That's really important. You've got to understand, do a bit of research. Because if you're looking at a platform just from a point of just brand building, that's cool. Then you can literally just post on different platforms. But if your intention is to generate referrals, understand this. You're dealing with the online space with strangers. So make sure you start building a conversation, because a conversation builds rapport. A rapport builds trust. That forms into a relationship once there's trust. Before that, it was a pure stranger. And from there, you can start communicating about your brand, about your product, about how you're selling and what you're selling. I find too many people are impatient. They want to sell today. And this is the thing. Who wants to be salty? I always say this to people, it's very easy. Think about that beautiful call that you get and they say, hello, good afternoon, can I speak to Mr. Bjorn? They literally do that with me and I go, sorry? Hello? And this is the thing. At that point, firstly, you can't get my name right. Secondly, you sound like you're stumbling. Thirdly, you've lost confidence with me. And now you want to sell me a product. Why should I listen? So it's really important to do your research, understand your message, make sure that you are comfortable with a platform. Research, research, research. Stalk, stalk, stalk. A little tip, steal the eyes. Watch and see what other big, sorry, Kevin, I'll end with this. Watch and see what other big companies are doing. Copy and repeat. Yeah, go for it.
I'm glad that you're saying build rapport. I think you know, from what I do as well, rapport plays really big into how you create what you're, you know, who you are and how you function on a day-to-day basis. Whether you're actually doing marketing, whether you're the manager, whether you're the marketing manager, whether you're the owner of the business, you have to start paying attention. And I think what I'm starting to notice about marketing is that people need to start paying attention to how they conduct themselves. And I think, you know, I was looking at the president's speech last night, and people were wonderfully on Facebook just lambasting, and then I think, you know, do they actually consider how that plays back into what it is you're putting out there? And also, you know, you have to kind of consider that once it's out there, it's hitting the masses. So if you're not getting your messaging right, if you're not doing the research, if you're not doing taking that into consideration, you're probably going to miss exactly what you're trying to achieve. So I think, you know, taking responsibility for that is really important. And you actually have to do the work. You have to know who it is you're going to be talking to. But Absolutely. On that, you know, from a business perspective, I know a lot of people, there's a lot of online courses currently with regards to LinkedIn and how to use LinkedIn. And some people, you know, use LinkedIn as a funnel process and how to do that quite effectively. So why is using LinkedIn so important for business?
Great. So I think it's important that we understand where LinkedIn came from and in terms of how LinkedIn's developed. So when LinkedIn started 20 plus years ago, LinkedIn started as a CV-based platform. It was a place where you went to upload your CV, you built your CV, and recruiters could go and find you. What happened over time as Facebook came up with Facebook for Business about 15 years ago now, one of the things that happened was that LinkedIn realized if they don't make a change, they're going to be left behind. So many people often ask me this, Bjorn, do I have a a LinkedIn page or a LinkedIn profile? And I always ask them, what's the purpose? Why do you want it? And they always say this to me: I want to generate referrals.
Yeah.
I say, cool. So then I'm saying, then you need a profile. Why? Once you've built a relationship with someone, you can move them onto your page, but you need to build a relationship with them. What people don't realize is the labor intensity of LinkedIn. And so what happens is they are just quick to add and they go, hey, this is my product, why didn't you buy it? And the first question I kind of want to say to people is, how about a hi? I hope you're doing well during COVID-19.
Yeah.
Or how is your business doing?
Yeah.
Thanks for caring. I'm human.
It's like going to the shop and suddenly asking someone, hey, do you want to go on a date? It's like,
yes.
why would they? Why would they do that? You know, I don't want to go, I don't know who you are. Who are you? And why are you talking to me?
100%. You know, it feels like a stalker. It's like, hi there. Do you want to go on a date? No, I don't. You call the police and the security, and I'm calling my mom and my dad and my friend and my brother or my sister and like, help. Exactly. So first and foremost, you need to build a rapport. So that's, you know, I almost want to say, you know, manners maketh the man. I always think of my English teacher. She used to say that, Bjorn. Manners maketh the man, young man. Yes, ma'am. And that's the thing. Start with her and always avoid the typical hi and then wait for a reply. How are you? And then wait for a reply. If someone's like, okay, what do you want? Like, what's your agenda? Like, there's so much to do. Versus if you start with an opening that goes, hey, I saw your profile, i.e. a compliment. It looked really impressive. I thought I'd connect with you. I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
No one is ever going to say, oh my gosh, how rude you are. You gave me a compliment. Don't be that. No, of course they're going to be like, yeah, cool, thanks. They're not going to necessarily say it like that, but internally they're like, oh, they like my profile. It's the reason I dress up. You know, I dress up every day in terms of work-wise because it creates a mental space. And that's the same thing. Make sure that your profile looks great. Don't have an egg. Make sure your LinkedIn banner is great. Fill out all your information. Before I want to accept someone, I go and have a stalk. Okay, cool, great. Oh, that's okay. And that's important. Yeah. And really using that space then as a profile to start building. That's number one. So you want to build a rapport, you want to build a conversation, as I mentioned earlier, that creates trust, that with time creates brand confidence. And then it's easy to say the following. It would be really great if we could set up a meeting offline. I'd love to hear more about your business and discuss some potential synergies. This is the problem. People are too quick to want to just shoot. So think of, I love the dating scenario. It's one I was going to use. So thanks, Giff, for stealing that from here. But that's it. You've got to build up that rapport. I always think of it like, if you think about how you got married, you didn't like one day rock up and go, you hot, we getting married. It took a bit of wooing, a bit of research, finding out who the friends are, maybe dropping off a bunch of flowers and not saying anything to like, oh, who's this? You create the curiosity. You've got to create that like, oh my gosh, someone made me feel special. And if you can do that with time, you will generate the referrals. Most important, the aim of a LinkedIn connection is to get an offline meeting, a Zoom, a WhatsApp video, some form of rapport, a conversation, and then to engage with the brand. Your aim is not to sell a product. If your aim is to sell a product, you're going to, let's use a nice word.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I to add to what you're saying, I have fallen head straight into that problem because I have loads of people on my LinkedIn, but I wasn't really connecting to them on a personal level. I was just like I have a lot of information, sharing really nice content, and you know, no one cares unless you're talking to me and I'm engaged with you, and like you suddenly take the time to acknowledge that there's some kind of engagement. No one cares. Everyone's busy, you know? So I've also had to learn like a dear lesson from that perspective, specifically on LinkedIn, because people are busy. And I think what's relevant about the situation that we caught up in currently is that everybody is amping up their social media. So if you're not really out there creating something that's quite unique or having quite significant conversations, you might be debilitating yourself because people want to engage with you as a person, not with something that's just randomly posted on a post.
Absolutely. Kev, I just saw something now from my friend Sunil. So, hey, Sunil, welcome. And we made a comment and say engagement is key. The automated inbox messages have taken away from this slightly. So, Sunil, I'm going to say yes and I'm going to say no. Allow me to explain. You know, one of the purpose of what's called bots, those are the automated inbox messages. The purpose of a bot is to start a conversation with the intention of the human to then take it over. What a lot of people don't get, and they really don't get it, is they think that the purpose of the bot is to close the deal. That is not the purpose. The purpose of the bot is to start the conversation to say, oh, hey, Sunil, I see you've just come onto whatever the brand is. How can we help? How, you know, they don't ask questions like, how's your day? Are you well? They're not designed like that. It's to go, how can I help? With an intention to go, great, awesome. Would you like option A or B? It's also self-automated with the intention to then that the human, whoever that might be, the social media manager, the marketing manager, the owner of the business, makes no difference, that they then take that conversation further with this intention, not to sell to them, but to connect offline in order to get their telephone number, in order to get their email address, and then to say, right, let's see if there's mutual synergy or how can we serve you? And I really think if businesses got that it's how can we serve you, this attitude with your arm out versus this like, feed me, make me fat, give me the money. Literally, no true story. I always say that to my team. I always say, you know, if people moved away from this to the serving arm, to how can my business serve you, especially in this current pandemic space, then honestly, your sales will soar because people not only will experience you as authentic, but they'll experience you as someone who cares and therefore they will buy.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm just going to stick to the next questions because it's lunchtime marketing. It's half an hour and half an hour, but if there are questions, we will cover them. Cool. What don't we know about Instagram and TikTok? Because everybody, I know that, you know, people know it, everyone's using it, but every time I go on TikTok, you know, people are dancing and I'm going, okay, well, I'm never going to use TikTok. But, you know, you never know.
All right, cool. So we've had a question from someone called Huawei P Smart. If you could give me your name so I know who I'm talking to, I will then answer your question very happily. Cool. So to answer what you don't know about Instagram and TikTok, it's really, really, really this. The first important part I'd ask you is, why are you using Instagram? That's important. Like, why are you using Instagram? Is it just because you're using it as an additional platform? Are you using it because that's where your target audience is? Are you using it because you're doing live feeds? Are you using it because you're doing share feeds? Are you using it from a point of you want to use stories to promote other brands and you then pin those stories? Are you using it on the actual feed because you wanted that to tell a story? In other words, the colors, the design, the look and feel, all of that is telling people a story. Are you using that in order to create a very big brand impression? So you can use what we call tiling, whether it's 3 tiles, 6 tiles, 9 tiles, where you can really just get a better understanding of your brand. So that's important to understand. Most people don't know why they're using a platform. They just use it because it's there. One of the things, Taryn, who's our sales and marketing coordinator, I always say, I go and look at our client stuff and I go, no, delete that. And she's like, why? I thought the post is great. I said, because it doesn't fit in with the client's color. It doesn't fit in with their logo. It doesn't fit in with their message. It's a nice message, but it's not applicable. Rather put that in the stories, rather than take those stories and pin that as part of the pin stories so that you can actually get an idea. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm just going to use my platform example. It's Bjorn Salsone, so BJORN or you can look at our business. The handle is at TNC Marketing ZA. Go and have a look at the pin stories. That will give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So Kevin, that's important to understand why you're using Instagram, because then you can apply all the relevant stuff. You know, important, number one. Number two, I mentioned this earlier, so we're coming back to this question about TikTok. Really most important, TikTok is not just a platform, that's how someone calls it, looking down a rabbit hole because you get entertained and you laugh. It can be, and that's cool. Then that's your platform that you use to relax, have fun, escape, forget about the fact that you might feel like you're in lockdown and you're feeling down that day. That's cool. But it's really important. A friend of mine, Brent Lindeque, Brent uses it for very different reasons. And it's important to make mention of that because Brent is known as the good things guy. So he talks about good things. Therefore, he makes videos that make people feel good. So that's part of his brand. So it's okay for him to do that. Like whether he's talking and he's I call recreating one of the current TikTok videos they are and using the script. He's using that. So in terms of what's important about Instagram, why to use it, when to use it, what's your message, what's your purpose? If you don't know that, I'm going to say to you, don't engage because actually you do more tarnish. Because just think of it this way. If you are driving attention to your brand and you don't have a message, you are actually killing your brand. You're showing people that you don't know what you're doing and therefore people then go, and to get those people back is probably going to take you another 3 to 6 months on the social media world because your content has to then be so on point in order for them to go, yes, please, I want to engage.
Like last week, you said you can only make a first impression once, right? The first time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, totally.
We've got a question here from Sarah. She's saying building a relationship first is a great point. My question on that would be that when is the right time to speak about your business and what's the best approach? Because you come across people who then say, oh no, another scheme. And you get the feeling that because there's so many similar networking opportunities out there, it makes it difficult. How do you explain that there's a difference? So a really good question. Thanks, Sarah. I think that's important because, you know, how do you start talking about once you've engaged and said, hey, and you sort of introduced yourself and spoke about why the engagement's there. How do you really broach that from a marketing perspective and start talking about your brand?
Cool. All right. So thanks for that question, Sarah. That's awesome. One of the things that I saw there that Sarah also asked in the second part was, what's the best approach of Facebook? So most important part, if in context of Facebook, Sarah, you can only use your profile. It's the same as the context for LinkedIn. You can only use your profile, the same for Instagram, right? If we talk about Facebook for Business and we talk about the LinkedIn page, you can only engage once someone engages with you, right? So that's why I talk about build the relationship. If you're using the LinkedIn platform as an example, I'm going to suggest that. I always say to people, have a social media outlet that can just be for whatever you want to laugh. So if that's going to be TikTok, if that's going to be Facebook, that's cool. Doesn't make a difference. Don't mix the two because you're going to have different mixed messages. Right. If we're now talking about how do you approach, I'm going to go from LinkedIn because this is really the best space that you can work from. You really need to understand why you've added those people that you've added on. And you need to understand how to use the different filters and then start engaging. A most important part, I mentioned this earlier, start off with giving someone a compliment. Hi, I came across your profile. I think it's really great. I think we might have potential synergy. No, don't go like that. Don't start the conversation with, I'm just trying to sell. Start the conversation with, if I was seeing you and I thought that you potentially could be a client, I'd go with, hi, Sarah, really great profile. I see that you spoke about A, B, C, and D, and E. It's important that the person sees that you've done some homework and some research. Then you can say that, I see you do A, B, C, D, and E. Would you tell me more about it? Or could you tell me where I can find out more? Or better yet, could we set up a telephone conversation to talk about your services I'd like to learn? Because once you do that and you have someone on the telephone or you have someone on a Zoom call, you then can start having a better conversation because what they'll experience is they'll experience your energy, they'll experience your rapport. That's why I'm using a lot of hand gestures. Or I could be the kind of guy that talks like this. And I'm talking like this and you've got to understand, and I say you as in people, we've got to understand and we've got to mirror the person we're talking to. If we want to have people feel that they can relate to us, sometimes we have to do is just drop our energy, really pause the conversation, talk a bit slower, and then engage. And the most important part is and I always say this, if you come across as authentic because you act authentic, people will get that they understand LinkedIn's for business, but they will also experience you as someone going that you want to learn about their brand and you're not just wanting to sell. If we can always remember the following, as I know we're running out of time, when we want to engage with someone, if we would rather consider that person as we are interviewing them to see if we want to do business with them instead of trying to sell to them, you approach business from a different point of view.
Absolutely. Björn, I just want to finish off. Sunil also said that he has a different persona on TikTok. And the question really is, how do we drive viewers to know we do more than one thing beyond our bio? Obviously, being authentic. For me, it's a very difficult question, because it's great to know that you do more than one thing, but it's quite difficult to brand yourself as doing many things, because people get confused. The messaging gets confused. What do you think?
100%. And Sunil, I mean, I've seen it's Tani someone or Auntie someone. I saw it the other day. It was very, very funny. And I laughed. And this is the point. I asked the following, the question I asked earlier: why are you on that platform? What is the aim that you're trying to do? Because you can brand yourself as different people. Like a quick example would be Sazelle DIY. If we remember Sazelle DIY, so when she started off, that's what she started off. She started as Sazelle DIY, and then she became, I forget the person, she was the person that got married, and they did the whole series that was based in Sea Point.
Tally, yeah, it was a Tally girl.
There we go. But what she did was she totally recreated her brand. So everyone knew Sazelle DIY, and then she established that very well in the market. And then she went on to Tally. And then, remember, she always said, "Hi guys, love you." You know, that was how she ended. I mean, I still remember it, and I haven't seen those videos in a while. It's because she then saturated that market as a new brand. So that's the big thing. You're going to have to create, for example, 2 Instagram platforms for 2 different brands, 2 TikToks for 2 different brands. So yes, it's logging in and logging out. But if that is how you want to establish yourself as someone different, you have to create a whole persona in order for people to buy into that. Don't try and use one persona. So I know, for example, Sunil also does MC work. Don't use your MC platform to then try and talk about that you sing. And then you try and talk about that you're an artist and that you do poetry. And then you're talking about selling Tupperware. And then you can't do that. You've got to use a single platform, and in terms of what you're creating, because that's why people are following you. They're following you to hear about your message about A. And that's really important. Cool.
Fantastic, guys. So that's lunchtime marketing for this week. Just to wrap that up, Bjorn. So just to encompass everything you've said, we've spoken about be online. Make sure that you actually have your social medias that you want to be using, but also be quite specific, knowing why you're using them. You also mentioned the correct messaging, and actually to do the research about who it is you want to talk to, and build relationships, and take the time to build those relationships, because I think a lot of the time we get busy with busyness, and we don't always get to building those relationships like we should. So if people want to find out more about you, where do they go for that?
Oh, cool. All right. So there's a few ways to do it. You'll find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, at Bjorn, and Twitter at Bjorn Salsone, so BJORN And from our business point of view, our website is www.tnc-marketing.co.za, and you can just drop it, one of the team will pick it up. And my email address is very easy. It's my name, Bjorn, at tnc-marketing.co.za.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. And with me as well, you can just literally, you can type my name into Google and a whole bunch of stuff comes up, because I do a lot of stuff online and I'm also everywhere. But what I want to leave everyone with today, guys, is Brené Brown, a psychologist, speaks about Teddy Roosevelt, who speaks about the man in the arena. She uses his quote and she says, "It's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena." It's called The Man in the Arena, guys. So go and check it out. But the point is, Bjorn and I are in the arena. We can, if you want to bring it, throw dust, throw sand, we're there. We're the ones out there. We're the ones, and that's exactly what's required of brands today. If we're adding value, if we want people to do better in what they're doing, put yourself out there and make mistakes, and learn from them. Get up and do it. get hold of Björn, get hold of me, have a conversation. Let's see how we can help each other even further. And essentially, be the man in the arena, because if you're not doing it, you're just on the sidelines pointing fingers, right?
Absolutely.
So
Thanks for that, Kev.
Guys, thank you so much, Bjorn. Thanks for everything. Thank you for joining us, guys. That's Lunchtime Marketing. Next week, I don't have it in front of me. So do you remember what we're chatting about?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was saying. So next week, we're talking about influencer marketing. What does that mean practically? What is influencers? What is that? And I'm going to talk about influencers in a very different context. Some of what we know, the bloggers and the vloggers, etc., 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 but it's some additional stuff that you just haven't considered, that you actually are an influencer. And so I'm going to be talking about that. And then at the end of the month, we're going to be talking about webinars, how relevant it is for business, how to use it, and what you should consider. Great stuff. Fantastic.
Thank you so much, guys. Check it out online, and we look forward to comments and questions and connecting with you online. Please go and check it out, and we'll chat to you next week.
Great.
Thank you so much,
guys.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Yes.